Board members, I just want to remind you before we get started to make sure you're talking directly into the mic so it can be heard. We do put this on YouTube. Thank you.
Somebody want- Hey, how are you?
No, I'm cold. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. This meeting's called to order. For all those who care to join us for a Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Thank you. Okay, Terry, roll call, please.
Mrs. Edmeades.
Here.
Mrs. Fish.
Here.
Dr. Gatachu.
Here.
Mrs. Gordon. Mr. Gordon.
Here.
Dr. Gursky. Mr. Kirsch.
Here.
Mr. Reichert.
Here.
Mr. Huron.
Here. Thank you. For the record, the board did meet tonight in an executive session from 6:07 to 6:50. The board met to discuss purchasing of property in relation to the Riverside Elementary School. We had a discussion on staff evaluation in relation to pay increases, as well as a discussion on potential litigation. With that said, next order of business tonight is the meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Fish. Thank you, Mr. Reichert. Voice call.
You could do voice.
Oh, excuse me, yep. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Okay, thank you, motion carries. Okay, next order of business tonight is our board administrative announcements. So we have reports. I'll do the Montour, Columbia Montour VOTEC. We're actually in a break for July, so there's a little bit of break in the action over there, but they're still focused on sending districts, looking at, and we have some of that in our agenda tonight for the expansion project. So that's still a focus for that team over there. With that said, Dr. Katachi, is anything to report for CSIU tonight?
I was unable to attend their meeting due to work reasons.
Okay. All right. And then Finance Committee?
Yeah, we met last Wednesday for an hour, talked about the athletics and band transportation RFP. The bid opening started today, right, Bobby? Yeah. Where's Bobby? Oh, there she is. Jen had asked the last meeting when we discussed the district insurance about the COVID-19 coverage. It's a Seltzer Group reviewed our current COVID-19 coverage and compared it to the coverage in our new plan, and it's exactly the same, covered in the same manner at no additional charge. We started our tax collection as a district. First transaction went well, just literally instantly money from the taxpayer to us.
So we had our first online payment. Oh yeah, mine's different. So we had our first online payment for the 3 municipalities we collect for, and we're deputized currently. The tax collectors, as you remember, there were 3 that asked to deputize the district in January. So we are collecting, we're getting lots of payments in by mail, but we have received our first online check payment and several credit card payments online as well.
Thank you, Bobby. And then we talked about the basic ed and special ed allocation increase. Basic ed will increase by an estimate of $247,000. Special ed will increase by $34,726. Bobby had flat funded us, or Mrs. Ely had flat funded us for the school year. So this allows us to actually use less of the COVID money. And then we spent a majority of the time talking about the Columbia Montour VOTEC financing project, capital reserve, kind of which we'll get into here a little bit later.
Okay. All right, thank you. Athletic Committee, Mr. Gordon, anything to report?
Yes, the Athletic Extracurricular Committee meeting met on June 23rd. The meeting started at 5:30 with 2 committee members present. At 5:45, an additional member joined the meeting. Items discussed during the meeting included facility-related information, including gym floors, baseball cages, and wrestling mats, staffing related to spring coaches evaluations and contracts, new cheerleader advisor. Other items included schedule for committee meetings moving forward, coach and co-curricular salary matrices, speed camps and searching for funding, available to all sports and all student athletes, multi-sport activity sharing of students, and Act 151 clearances. The committee moved to an executive session from approximately 6:05 to 6:42 regarding evaluations specific to individual spring coaches' performances.
All right, thank you.
You got it.
Curriculum Committee, Dr. Gatachi?
Curriculum Committee also met last week. We did discuss quite extensive items. One is the summer school, which was between July 4th and June 14th and July 8th. I'm sorry. There were approximately 200 to 225 students K to 12. We are anticipating running 13 camps over a course of 2 weeks. The first one is July 19th to 22nd. The second one is July 26th to July 29th, with about 150 to 175 students expected or participating. The next one is leads are on the agenda to be approved today. These are teacher leads. As part of their roles for the next 3 years, they will be implementing a curriculum framework and interactive lessons planning model for grades K to 12. The purpose of this is to provide functionality and connectivity. The other is the district is working on a communication plan document as a means of allowing all stakeholders to better understand where to gain information about the district. And we have a plan for our next meeting for August 11 for board meeting to discuss the following curriculum items. One is a social emotional learning, a piloting to take place in primary school, Liberty Valley, and middle school, with full implementation plan for 2022 to 2023. Science pilot at Liberty Valley to be started, and math ready classroom K to 2 and 6 to 8. And last one is career pathways parent meeting was held on July 6th with approximately 15 parents in attendance. We're hopeful that there was positive review from some of the attendants. We're hoping that some more will join us in our next meeting, which is on August 3. So I invite parents to come and attend, especially those whose students are entering grade 8th or younger. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, one more thing
yes,
about the
please.
athletic committee. We are not meeting in July due to vacations and the committee members not being able to meet. So our next meeting will probably be the second Monday in August, tentatively.
Okay.
I believe that's the 17th, 18th, somewhere around there.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, next order of business tonight, superintendent's reports. Let's turn over to Dr. Boyle.
All right, I attended the Danville Business Alliance meeting on July 7th. At that time, we discussed what was happening in the district with career pathways and the new career programs that we are starting. We have a business entrepreneurship program and a diversified occupations, both of which relate to businesses and co-ops, those kind of things. So the Business Alliance members were very positive about it, so we're talking to them about potentially becoming part of the advisory board. Also, I want to just let people know that the Fall Arts and Crafts activity is being connected with the Heritage Festival, and that will be taking place September 4th on Mill Street. So be ready to enjoy a good day with downtown Danville and participate in that, please. Dr. Gatachu talked about the Career Pathways Community Forum. I have to say the parents had some really good questions, and from that perspective, we are making sure that we have clear understanding of what the pathways would look like for a student, and with some of the questions that they've provided, Dr. Bickhart and Mr. Wynn are preparing to have various scenarios of what would happen if a student decides at the end of their freshman year that they really don't like the pathway that they were in, how they could change, how things could work. So that'll give the parents a better understanding. And again, that's August 3rd at the high school. Also, I would like to thank Wise Markets for providing CPR kit for in the schools. These kits can actually train approximately 150 students. And the American Health Association American Heart Association coordinated that for us, and we're working with them to do several activities in the district next year. So we're looking at wellness for our students and staff through those programs. And the enrollment report, we are now have 2,227 students enrolled in the buildings. There are 117 students at Columbia Montour Votech. I do need to say that our enrollment for kindergarten is increasing every day. There is a significant number of students. We have several students whose parents have elected to retain them in kindergarten. So we are looking at how we're staffing for that, and we'll be working on that later this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Boyle. Okay, next order of business is our first of two public comment periods. This particular public comment period, as is our format, is for agenda items only. So since we're no longer virtual, I'll turn it over to anybody that's sharing tonight with us in the room. Does anybody in the room like to make a public comment at this time on agenda items only? No? Okay, thank you. Next order of business tonight is we have Jamie Doyle from PFM. He's going to talk to us about project financing. Welcome. Good evening. Thank you
I'm
for
just
coming.
gonna
Oh,
say a
excuse
couple
me.
things about
Yeah.
this. So we are not actually saying why we're having this. We're going to let Jamie do her presentation because she does have to run. And then afterwards, we're gonna discuss what this means for the district and what we need the funding for. So I just wanna let Jamie do her presentation first, and then we'll discuss why
All right.
afterwards.
All right, thank you, Bobby.
Pleasure to be here this evening. Again, I'm Jamie Doyle from Public Financial Management, independent financial advisor to the school district. And this is my third in-person meeting since the pandemic. So it is great to see your smiling faces this evening. I miss this. So you should each have a handout at your places that contains the information for the opportunities before you. And if you turn to the inside cover
Amy,
page.
I'm not sure they can.
Very good. I'll get a little
That much
closer.
better.
How about
Thank
that?
you.
I don't miss those. On page 2, I always like to start off talking a little bit about market conditions. And this is 3 snapshots of the same index. This is the MMD curve, which stands for Municipal Marketplace Data. And I'm really going to focus on the lower right-hand corner, where you can see we continue to hover near all-time low interest rates. The all-time lows were set in August of 2020, and you can see we're not far off those levels today. If you look at page number 3, you'll see your current debt portfolio. And in addition to talking about new money financing this evening, you also have some refunding opportunities coming up. First of all, I'll point out in columns 8 and 9, you already conducted 2 extremely successful refunding opportunities earlier in calendar year 2021. But your next opportunities for refunding are highlighted in columns 4 and 5. They consist of your 2017 A bonds and your 2017 B bonds. And if you look way at the bottom of those 2 columns, there's a line labeled call date. So you can see the call date on those 2 issues, or the date you can call those bonds back from the investors, is May 1 of 2022. Sounds really far away, but it's time to start planning for that, believe it or not. If you look at page number 4, this is a summary of the rest of the pages in this handout. And so in the blue column, that's labeled new money, you have about $9.4 million roughly left of your 2021 calendar year bank qualified limits. Remember, bank qualified is the lowest possible interest rate you can get, and you have to have reasonable expectations that you won't issue more than $10 million in total in a calendar year. Again, you did those 2 refinancings earlier this year, but only small portions of those count against your calendar year limits. So this would provide proceeds to do your various projects of about $9,335,000. You can see at the top of column 1. And the conservatively estimated debt service down below in column 5, you can see would phase in a partial payment in the current year of about $223,000. And then it would level off at about $360,000 a year. And then that would fully support this new money effort. And again, this is a little conservative. If we were having the sale today, you'd do a little better than this. Then in column 2, you'll see what that refinancing opportunity may look like. And most importantly, down below in column 7, you can see the estimated net savings to the district from this opportunity is almost $264,000. Again, being a little conservative this early on in the process, you'd do a little better if we were having the sale today. And so at the end of the day, you can see where you would end up would be all in column 8. And you can see how that phase in would reflect the additional new money in column 5. Just to walk through the mechanics, on page number 6, there's the backup schedule for the new money. So you can see those payments match the summary that we just looked at. This issue would go out just a little less than 30 years. Likewise, if you turn to page number 8, the refunding step of the transaction, on page 8, you can see your 2017 A bonds. So if you did nothing, you'd continue to make the payments on page 8. And you can see you have relatively low rates locked in to begin with. In column 3, you're currently paying 2% on the short end to about 3.5% on the long end of that issue. On page 9, there's your 2017 B bonds. Likewise, if you did nothing, you'd keep making the payments on this page. That's a much shorter issue, and your rates in column 3 range from a 2% to a 3%. Page 10 just shows us how much money we need to pay off those 2 old issues from 2017, principal and interest. And page 11 is the backup page for the savings that you saw on the summary.
That rate in 2035 is significantly lower.
Yes, yes.
A lot.
Yep.
Okay.
We're still at nearly all-time low rates,
Yeah.
and we just had to wait to get close enough to that call date so that we can legally call them back from the bondholder. But yes, absolutely, that's a lot lower. As always, these estimated savings are net of the state share. You can see that in that bottom box. The state will benefit by $63,000 and change. That's netted out of your number. And as always, that savings number is net of estimated cost of issuance. And we'll bid all those out as we typically do. And again, being a little conservative this early on. The last page, there's 2 sample motions for your consideration if or when you'd like to proceed. There's a separate one for the new money and then a separate one for the refunding opportunity. And you can see this would authorize the financing team to proceed and get the paperwork in order. As always, the financing team consists of myself as your independent financial advisor, Meddy Evans and Woodside as your bond counsel, and Beard Legal Group as your solicitor. And you'll see there's a blank in that sample motion to set a minimum acceptable net savings target. As always, it's my job to save you every dollar that I can, but we have to set a floor so if the market moves against us, we won't proceed if we get below that level.
Not beneficial.
So I'm suggesting that you set that target at about $150,000. Don't set it right tight up against the number I'm showing you this evening, but give yourself a little bit of wiggle room because this is a very sensitive transaction when rates are at these all-time low levels. At the bottom of page 12, you can see a sample timeline. I always make the timeline the fastest that you can proceed and put or later after all the dates, so you don't need to move this fast if you don't want to. Tonight would be an initial presentation. I left a blank beside authorized finance team to proceed with the 2 motions up above. The earliest that you could vote on said paperwork that we would get in order would be your August 11th meeting. We could be back with those maximum parameters resolutions. And the earliest you could lock in interest rates on the new money would be about August 12th. That would settle around mid-September to give you an idea of how long that would take till the money would show up in your construction fund and be available to pay invoices. And then the last 2 dates pertain to the refunding. So the earliest we can lock in interest rates on the refunding is January 4th, and then that would settle around February 9th. So I will pause there. I know that was a lot of information, and entertain any questions that you may have.
What do you think the rates are going to be? I mean, 2%, or 2 looks to be our lowest, but what's the potential right now, do you know?
This is a pretty good indication on page 11, and for the new money, 8.
Okay.
So the column on page 8 labeled yield, that one's longer, so let's look at that one. In column 4, range from a 1.38% to a 2.65% on the long end.
Okay.
Again, you do a little bit better than that today, but all-time low interest rates are a nice environment to be in.
Yes.
Anybody else? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jamie.
Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie. All right, as Bobby said, we're going to be talking a little bit about what this new money is directed towards. We have been in the process of a feasibility study looking at our buildings and our athletic fields as to what we need. We have talked about this at great length with administration and others. And what we're finding is that Liberty Valley is in fairly decent shape, but not great shape. There are some major things that need to be done there. We need to have some repair of sidewalks where the joints are coming up. We're having asphalt problems out there. We have them at the middle school that are extremely significant. If we don't address them at Liberty Valley, we're going to be in the same place there with lots of potholes. We'd want to take care of the play areas on the south side of the building to resurface those so they don't have bumps and crevices, so the kids are safe there. There's a lot of things that need to be done. On the exterior building, there needs to be some cleaning around the gymnasium, some updates, some painting, that kind of thing. We also have to think about a roof replacement. We are now currently having leaks. And so the entire roof needs to replace minimally within the next 5 years. But if we can incorporate at this time, that would be the best avenue moving forward, as opposed to patching here, there, and everywhere, and then turning around and needing to do the rest of it. We also need to consider that when the terrazzo flooring was put in certain areas, it was so thin that now the moisture seeps up through and we end up with puddles in the hallways, which of course are slippery and a safety issue, and it's not sufficient amount of terrazzo there, so we would need to look at that to add a vapor barrier and then install a new flooring system in certain sections of the building, because that is becoming a major issue. Because when it lifts, it cracks, and now we've got humps and, like I said, moisture on the floor. We also need to replace tile that is in poor condition. There are some rooms in the building that have, high quality tile. We would not touch that. But there are areas that it is not sufficient, and we would need to take care of that as well. We have perimeter lighting in group breakout spaces, and we need to adjust lighting as it's needed throughout or around the building, as again, security issues. We need to renovate bathrooms that do not meet ADA compliance. We have some of those issues in that building because it was built earlier. And then we also have doors that do not comply for clearances, so we'd have to address those. Additionally, there's some other things under new ADA requirements regarding plumbing fixtures, and hot water system is also needed. Again, and then the other big item is that HVAC system needs to be upgraded because of its age, its condition, and the fact that it's very difficult to get parts whenever we have to do any replacement or fixing, so it's becoming much older than is practical for the building. So we would want to include that in the renovation pieces. We'd also ask that we would be testing piping systems to determine the condition, and we'd reuse what would be possible, but there are going to be some that aren't going to be able to be reused. And then we'll investigate connecting to the public water system, as at this point we are not connected, as opposed to maintaining an on-site water system. So that would be, again, very practical for that building. So that's part of the big pieces at Liberty Valley. The other piece is at the primary building. We would be doing some minor things. It would be, not a real significant cost, but there would be some things in the bathroom we need to upgrade, because we're looking at the fact that we could move another whole class into that building. It's made with several more, well, it's this building. It's made with rooms that we could be using for third grade as opposed to keeping them in the Liberty Valley. And then we could move sixth grade to Liberty Valley so that then the wear and tear and the constraints that we're facing at the middle school could be addressed, because we're looking at holding off for a few years in order to obtain the financing and have stability in our finances before starting a major project regarding the 7th and 8th grades. But at that point, we could then put some of the sixth grader, we put all of the sixth graders out at Liberty Valley, move students from third grade into this building, the primary building, and then we would have more space in Liberty Valley, or in middle school, to have it more adequate for what we really need to be happening in that building educationally. That building still has things that we will need to Band-Aid, so to speak, hold on to maintenance, because there are several areas there as well that are deteriorating, and so we do look at the timeline on that as well, but we do have a few years, as opposed to Liberty Valley is more critical at the moment.
So you touched on everything except the fields. Okay.
Oh, athletic fields. Sorry, forgot those. We're looking at moving athletic fields across the road to the land that we're leasing from the borough. And with doing that, we would need to seed probably in the spring and move forward quickly, because once you have grass fields, you can't play on them in the same year, and maybe even 2 years it takes to seed and do it adequately. We would maintain the softball field as it is on this side of the road, because it's a good field and it's doing fine. The baseball field has some serious drainage issues, is just does not work well, and it also would be where we would be looking at moving part of the building for the 7th and 8th graders if we went forward with that part of the revisions or the renovations and new part of the building for that group. The other things that would be there had to do with field hockey. The middle school fields are in very bad shape and are probably considered somewhat dangerous at times. So those would also be moved up here. So we would be looking at making a sports complex that could also be used by others, like we use our fields now. We let community organizations use them as well. So we would be looking at taking care of that with this refinance as well. Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just want to go on about this. KCBA presented a feasibility study 2 board meetings ago, and they worked with our administration team to build a pretty solid plan. The expectation of that plan was to be a long-range plan. So when we met with the financial committee, the finance committee, we looked at it, and the district is not in a financial position to move forward with the entire plan as presented. So we looked at the most dire needs first, and we decided Liberty Valley is the most in need building. So we decided that we would present to the board to move forward with these projects that Dr. Boyle had mentioned. Along with that, we do have to finance, if approved tonight, the Columbia Montour VOTEC project. So that's where the $9 million, I don't have it, $5 million comes into play, is with all of those projects included. The high school and middle school are not included, and that's going to be included in a long-range plan. We have to set up our finances before we can move forward with that. Any questions?
So when we talked about the long-range plan in Finance Committee, we talked about a commitment from the admin team to address building, their individual budgets, with the idea that once this commitment is made, if we do vote for it, that they will not stray from that in order to be able to set up within, I think it was 5 years, to be in a place where we could approach the financing for those other 2 projects.
Yeah, the administration team actually started this process before the feasibility study came into play. And they've already started looking at staffing. As we know, some of the enrollment has been changing, shifting, reducing in some areas, and they were already looking at staffing. We have reduced staff for the next,
21,
well,
22.
this year. We're in this year now. And we're going to move forward with looking at that in every position that is vacant. We're going to look and see if it's needed or if we can shift people and reduce more staff to help with that. Along with that, we have to look at other areas when contracts come up, such as healthcare as a major factor in our budget.
One of the other things we had talked about was that a concerted effort or some kind of plan at addressing the cyber school costs, because that is a huge cost that has increased in the last year and a half, 2 years because of COVID. So I wonder if you'd speak to that.
Okay. What's happening with the cyber schools, we've created our Ironman Cyber Academy. We have reached out by mail and by phone to each parent that has a student in an outside cyber. We've also reached out to the homeschool families to ask them to consider returning to the building or minimally using our cyber school. We've additionally cut some of the numbers already. We've got parents coming back, and we also have students coming back from non-public schools, which I found interesting. But so our numbers are, in outside cybers have gone down a little bit since the end of the school year, and we're expecting to continue in that path. And we've also then reached out to the community with advertising and that kind of thing regarding what's happening at the high school with our new
I saw your
SIP program.
billboards.
Yeah. So the SIP programs, and also regarding the Ironman Cyber Academy. We've done some things with that as well.
And
No billboards.
just this week as well, a company contacted Dr. Boyle and
Right.
myself about how they helped another school district get students back from the outside cybers. So we're going to take a meeting with that company as well.
Correct. It's a marketing system. And it's a Danville resident that's part of that.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
So
wonderful.
administratively, you've already started working towards curbing costs so that we can set ourselves up to be in a better place financially in order to be able to address those projects.
Right, that's one of the goals I've recommended for the board, is to work with Mrs. Ely and I to set us up in a good financial place. We have been working on the 2030 plan for over a year, so we have been working on these things, like she said, much before the feasibility study.
Thank you.
If I remember correctly, didn't cyber school, because of COVID, cost us somewhere around $477,000 a deficit of budget?
No.
Up more than that?
Bobby?
Somewhere around there? Early it was. I remember 477 from some.
I'm projecting 1.1 million for the current year as an expenditure. We usually come in around $360,000 on an annual basis.
So for the 2021 year, it was significantly higher.
Yeah, so we're at a big deficit.
There, yeah, but we're
Correct.
working to
Yeah.
return that to what we've
Offset
seen
that.
in
Right, yeah.
past. Right.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to add, we will be paying $1.1 million out of, it's over that $1.1 million out of our capital reserve for the Columbia Montour VOTEC project. If approved tonight, it's on the board agenda, but the remainder of that still needs to be funded, and that's what that portion of the part of the borrowing is for. It's going to be 3.1 million of that 9 million is coming just for the Columbia Montour VOTEC project.
Right, anything else on that? Thank you. Quick question before we move on, Bobby. Did you pay extra for a microphone that has that nice little red light that comes on when you talk? Okay.
Christmas was wondering, it just seemed special to me, I didn't know. Okay, fair enough. All right, thank you for that. Okay, next order of business tonight, consent agenda items. Recommended action is the board will take action to approve the consent agenda items. Those items are 12.1 through 12.4, 13.1 through 13.6. We can approve them as one, or if there's reason to talk with them or pull them out, we can do that at this time. So is there a motion to approve them as presented?
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Mrs. Edmeades?
Yes.
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Dr. Gatacho?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Right. I'd like
Okay.
to explain item 7.1, an additional services authorization. We have been notified by the Danville Borough that the land that we lease across the road is actually had a revision where the restrictions have been removed, but we need to provide a survey and deed description prior to September 30th for this to be recorded by the Department of General Services for the state. So that's what this particular item is in reference to.
And that's good news for us
That's
because
excellent news for
that
us.
means we can build on it
Potentially, yes.
potentially.
Yeah, that is a game changer, actually.
It can be, yeah.
It
I'd,
can be, but
get
yeah,
all the
it's
final
very
information
positive.
on it.
Can I just ask a quick question on the substitutes? What is our substitute situation looking like? I know we approved the substitute list, but do we seem like we're in good shape for this year? Are we looking at a shortage? I know that there was a
Everyone's looking at
regional
a shortage, but we're going to be sending letters to all the individuals who have applied for positions that were anticipated and asking them if they'd be interested to sub. We also are working with the IU to get the substitutes that do the individuals who do the training at the IU as substitutes.
The guest teacher program?
Yeah, guest teacher. Mhm.
Okay, thank you for setting that up for us, Dr. Boyle. So with that said, the board will take action to approve the survey and deed description services of K&W for the 20-acre parcel located across from the Danville Primary School in the amount of $1,450 plus reimbursable expenses as presented. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll
Thank
second.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Dr. Gatacho?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we're on to item 8.1, coach contract. Board will take action to approve a 3-year coaching contract for Sarah Biddle as the girls' field hockey coach.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Thank you, and thank you.
Dr. Gatacho?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
No.
Mr. Gordon?
No.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades?
Yes.
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
No. Carries, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, item 8.2, fall coaching list. The board will take action to approve the 2021 fall coaching list as presented. The stipend will be paid at the end of the season in accordance with the 2021 through 2022 budget. Do I have a motion to approve 8.2?
I'll make that motion.
I second.
Thank you, Doctor. Ready, Terry?
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Dr. Gursky?
Abstain.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades? Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Dr. Gatacho?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 8.3, the volunteer coaches. The board will take action to approve the following volunteer coaches. For cheer for fall 2021 is Megan Maurer, and also is Amber Neidig, excuse me. Thank you. And then also for girls lacrosse for spring of 2022, we have Erin Donahoe and Hannah Kipple. Do I have a motion to approve item 8.3?
I motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll
Second.
it.
Thank-
Oh,
Thank
whoever.
you. Whoever hit the buzzer first.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Gatacho,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. All right, on to item, nothing in curriculum and management tonight, the school and community relations board meeting schedule. Want to probably first open that up for discussion. Any thoughts on maintaining current schedule, or is there anything we wanted to discuss about our board meeting schedule at this time?
So some of our discussion was that moving it to Tuesdays versus Wednesdays.
Well, there's been a
Yeah.
few ideas kicked around over last several weeks, months.
I obviously have very little vested interest in this because I'm not going to be here, but I think a lot of us were better with Tuesdays.
Have any other thoughts?
We're not talking about how frequently we meet because we have decided that it's going to be every 4 weeks, right?
Well, we would continue August, September, October, November would still be the 2 meetings per month. So
Correct.
it'd be the second and fourth week. We're looking at which day of the week.
Of the month, you mean?
Or the, well, no, the day of the week.
Day of the week
And
and
the
the
second
and
and fourth
week.
weeks.
So you are still looking at having 2 meetings a month?
Yes. Yeah, that was just the break for
The summer.
summer.
Summer break.
Is there conflict with Columbia Montour VOTEC board or CSIU board or anybody
I'm-
working at night that's going to be carrying through a
I
term?
think Tuesday makes a conflict, but Thursday doesn't, if I'm not mistaken.
The CSIU's meetings is on Wednesday, so.
Yeah,
that's
so this
actually,
conflicts with that.
When's CMVT's meeting?
Tuesdays.
So that would
Tuesday
put a
the-
conflict.
Right, yeah, so
So maybe
Thursday seemed the
Thursday.
least conflict that I could see.
Put it Wednesday instead of
Or Wednesday.
Thursdays.
We've always, in the past, we're always on Tuesdays, is that correct?
It
Previously,
switched when-
yeah.
That's my thought.
Is there a conflict on Wednesdays that comes up?
I know I have a conflict every Wednesday.
Yeah, there's been,
December.
we've had issues with
You will.
with schedules throughout the year on Wednesdays. That's why this has been batted around. So we felt that putting it on, we could finalize it somehow.
I like Thursdays because it doesn't, I'm worried about VOTEC. We only have one representative for that meeting anyway. I think when we bring on new board members, it'd be great to put them on a VOTEC committee because we don't have enough people for that committee to
We should
begin
have
with.
two.
So if we put a meeting on a VOTEC committee time, I think that
Do they usually
creates
meet
a
the second
bigger
and-
problem.
second and
Tuesday
third?
Yeah, what Tuesday is that? Long term, I think that might be problematic.
What's wrong with Mondays?
Would it be problematic if we chose a different Tuesday of the month?
Probably not.
You could do first and third instead of.
Second and
Second and
fourth.
fourth.
Yeah, VOTEC is once a month. They're not.
I know they're not the first.
You know, typically too, we have a lot of committee meetings Monday and Tuesdays. Add
We
them
can
in
move those.
before the executive session if we have one, or
I would agree with that. It gives you
That would
time
be
to
helpful.
meet for executive,
And we're still back to a Thursday now.
not executive, committee meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Later in the week just
how we run
gives you more
Tuesdays.
time too. I think to prepare agendas, we have time for. I know. So it doesn't matter to me. Wednesdays are just bad for me, but if they're good for the
Oh,
group,
no, they're
then.
not good. We have basketball season starting. You'll miss.
We'll miss.
What happens on Mondays? Is there conflict on Mondays, do we say?
Other than the committee meetings that we hold, which can be adjusted as well.
Yeah,
Like I said,
because-
we can change the times to a little earlier.
But is Monday also a little bit of a challenge with regard to other dynamics, getting prepared with the right framework of what we have to do ahead of the meeting and announcements and those things, putting it on
I
a
think
Monday?
they
Because of
just
the week.
Does that
adjusted the
stress our
sunshine
system
law
too
though,
much
right?
to do
Did
it
they
on
just
Monday?
adjust sunshine law? It's
Right,
24
it's
hours.
24 hours. We'd have to change our policy, though. We have it in policy.
Could I
We
ask
do
the
it.
audience to please keep the noise down because I'm having difficulty focusing on the conversation? Thank you.
But so, as far as timeline, we would just adjust it in the office as to knowing it would need to be Monday, we'd have to back up our agenda meeting to probably Wednesday afternoon.
So we're only looking at August, September, October, November. When they reorg in December, they can do whatever.
Yeah, they can choose whatever that board will choose.
All right. So for 4 months,
Mondays would not work. Well, it depends on which Monday of the month you choose.
Which Monday do you have?
We're next Monday is the second Monday?
No,
No.
the third Monday.
Third Monday.
So if we're looking second and fourth, you're still okay.
I'm so okay with second and fourth.
That gives us Friday, then we don't have to scramble around Wednesday, just do Tuesday. First and third instead of second and fourth.
I will just say as a general note, our office tends to be more front-loaded in the week for Mondays and Tuesdays with respect to solicitor coverage. So, if you do alter to the first and third week or the second and fourth, we may have more wiggle room, but generally our Mondays are pretty. I just wanted to throw that out. I don't have Carl's schedule in front of me, but with respect to, try and work as best as possible.
Are we also talking about the committee of how we're doing the committee
No,
meetings? That's
not at
totally
this time.
separate.
We'll look at that with the new
Thank you,
board.
just wondered. Thank you.
No matter, I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we're to a point we just need to kind of, I mean, it's
Put
not
something
perfect,
down
otherwise we
and
would have had the decision
we
made by
make the
now. So we're
best
trying to
effort we
balance it
can
all,
to
so we
be
just
here.
need to.
Make a
just take it
motion for
forward.
the first and third Tuesday of every month.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
first and third Tuesday.
Beginning in August?
We already set on
Third
August
what,
11,
Tuesday
or you
now,
want
is
to
what we're
change
talking
that
The
also?
first and
That will
third.
change then.
First It'll and be third August Tuesday.
Yeah.
3rd.
Tuesday
No.
and the third Tuesday.
August
Yeah.
3rd is the
Yeah.
first
So
Tuesday.
first and third Tuesday of every month through the
Yes.
balance of,
Beginning in August.
yeah.
August
So-
through November.
Well, yeah.
August through November.
Well,
Okay.
November
No, we
have-
still have to
No.
have that December 1st meeting, but
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So
November.
Bobby, that changes for Jamie Doyle because she was doing
the 11th.
August 11th.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be even quicker.
I notified her that this discussion was going to happen at the board, so we'll adjust everything. And we are not voting on the initial motions that she had in her packet tonight. We wanted to get the information out, and we had to see if you were, the board was going to vote on the Columbia Montour VOTEC project before we move
Right.
forward. So it will be on the next board meeting, the motions.
And then,
Oh, sorry.
once you guys vote, we'll take care of it publicly.
Okay.
That's beginning August 3rd. Is that what I'm going for?
Are you okay? Do you have any thoughts on this? Or-
No, no.
Do we,
Uh,
go ahead.
No, I just want to
Personally,
make sure
for me-
everybody's voice is heard if there's some more that we needed to put out there.
Tuesdays and Thursdays for me are a little difficult than Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but let's give it a try. If it doesn't work, we can always suggest to change, but I'll go with Tuesdays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need to specify what kind of the meeting the first meeting is? Is it working
No,
versus
it's just,
non-voting?
we're having general meetings every time.
Okay.
That's a good question.
All right, anything else in the dialogue part before we set up for a vote? No. All right, so if I understand correctly, the board will take action. Recommended action is the board will take action to revise the board meeting schedule to hold board meetings the first and third Tuesdays from August 2021 through November 2021. With that said, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'll second it. Well, you can second it. I
Okay.
don't care.
Thank you.
That's me.
Hang on, I'm adjusting.
August stays on the 11th.
So we
No,
had
the
Durrell
third.
first, right?
Third.
Correct?
That moves the August 11th meeting to August the 3rd, okay?
Okay, we ready?
Ready?
Okay. Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades, Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Thank you, motion carries. Yeah.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to announce now, so you know, I will not be at the August 3rd meeting. I have
Okay.
a very important date that day.
Okay.
I'll be sleeping,
Okay.
getting
Thank
my
you
new
for,
knee.
appreciate you letting us know. Thank you, Bonnie. Well, too, on that.
Thank you.
Okay, next order of business tonight is in finance. Yes, Bobby, are you going to speak to this one?
The finance reports are just reports only, and then the cash receipts are is a report only, and then the bills for payment is where you're heading next for a vote.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I didn't know if there was some more that you wanted to have an overview on those other items. Okay. Okay, so bills for payment. The board will take action to approve the bills for payment for June 3rd, 2021 through July 7th, 2021 as presented. Do I have a motion to approve item 11.3?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Fish. Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichert,
Abstain.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Abstain.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 11.4. The board will take action to approve the budget transfers for the 2020 through 2021 school year as presented. Do I have a motion to approve item 11.4?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Kirsch.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Fish, with an echo from Mr. Katachu.
Mr. Reichert,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. All right, excuse me, cut, take two. Item 11.5, Columbia Montour Construction Project Maximum. The board will take action to approve the payment by Danville Area School District of its financial commitment of and not to exceed $4,301,093 for the Columbia Montour Facility Upgrade Project. Discussion or on this one? This time. This is, just for the record, this is a progression of, that included Mr. Kreider's and Mr. Lilo's presentation and the challenges presented to that, that facility that was on the table for a lot higher valued project. And with regard to evolution and looking at the must-have approach to that, we've evolved to a position of, what was the final, 16.8 million total?
Yeah.
Something, if I remember correctly, for that project, and this is our portion of that. So just to put the framework around this particular item.
I think it's important to note that this, Columbia Montour has been trying to upgrade and fix their facility for a lot of years, and we have run out of time. This is not a can we can continue to kick down the road. So this is not a new concept. This has been something we've been looking at least 10 years, if not more, to try to bring the facility up to speed.
Okay.
And now we're beyond even that, and now it's just trying to get the facility to a place where all kids are safe.
Right, and I appreciate all that, and I do know that framed around what you just said, nobody was interested in trying to do something that costs more money during this COVID pandemic. But the fact remains that, you know, the buildings don't sit around and take a year off or just kind of get better by themselves either. So this has been something that's been mounting for many, many, many years, well before even this board. And again, it was something that the team there looked really, really hard at to take a 33 million or so project, a couple, 3 years ago, whatever it's been now, that we were looking at and really taking a hard look and paring it down to something that was as pragmatic as necessary to maintain that asset and provide the right type of facility with the least amount of dollars we can spend over there to provide for the students that get their education at that facility. So I appreciate that, Christina, but I think it's important to note that this has been, and the timing isn't good, but at the same time, you know, things like this can't wait either.
Well, I think although the timing's not good because of COVID, the timing is good because our financing is, our interest rates are at an all-time low. So if we're going to be financing, it sounds like 3/4 of it, at least we're financing at a time when we've got some rates that we normally wouldn't see.
Right, understood. But at the same time, with the pressures we had with COVID and some of the financial impacts with that put a challenge on us from a financial standpoint, as well as some of the local
I
things we
agree,
said.
but I think we've gotten some relief from EASER funds that have helped us. I know they haven't solved the problem, but it has definitely helped us, those limited use funds, to try to counter that COVID
Mhm.
piece.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay, thank you, Bonnie, and thank you, Daryl.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Second part of that discussion comes out in item 11.6, which is the down payment. Board will take action to approve the Danville Area School District payment to the Columbia Montour AVTS of the first 10% of Danville's financial commitment for the Columbia Montour AVTS Facilities Upgrade Project to be paid no later than August 1st, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve item 11.6?
I'll make that motion.
I second.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Huron, may I speak? Sorry.
Oh, absolutely.
So 10% down is $430,109. We will be paying for that out of the committed and assigned capital reserve fund balance that we had set aside for this project.
Thank you for clarifying that. Thanks. Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Motion carries. The last part with regard to this subject is the final payment. The board will take action to approve the Danville Area School District payment of its remaining financial commitment to Columbia Montour AVTS for the Columbia Montour AVTS Facilities Upgrade Project to be paid no later than 30 days after the awarding of the contracts for the facilities upgrade. Do I have a motion to approve item 11.7?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, and thank you.
Was that Mr. Kirsch or Mr.?
It
Yes.
was Mr. Kirsch, yes.
Dr. Gatachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
No.
Mr. Gordon,
No.
Dr. Gursky. No. Mr. Kirsch,
No.
Mr. Reichard,
No.
Mrs. Edmeades,
No.
Mrs. Fish,
No.
Mr. Huron.
No. Okay, motion does not carry.
To apologize, I was meaning to no to the negatives.
Oh.
So no to decline.
So you answered the,
I said yes.
you
So
meant,
if you, can I change my vote then?
He would like
Yes.
to amend his vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant to say decline.
I think it's important to note that we're not saying we aren't going to pay what we already approved in 11.5. We're just, our issue is that they want it 30 days after awarding the contracts, and we feel that that's not necessary. We've already committed to the total amount in
Right.
11.5.
It's more a procedural, structural component of the
Right.
project than it is to saying we're not going to pay.
We need some
It's
type of
how
pay
that gets
schedule, too.
framed, and we
Right.
don't approve of how it is.
Yeah,
as
it's
presented
just a
tonight.
little confusing. I wanted to clarify for the
Yeah,
public.
I appreciate
The
that.
timing
That's
is-
well put. Yep.
Just not hand over automatic money.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Correct. Okay, we are, where we are.
12-1. Oh, no, that's consent.
Those are consent.
Those are consents.
12.5.
12.5, thank you,
yes.
everybody.
There we go.
Sorry. I was
Those
going by-
following along at home. Okay, item 12.5, we have employee reclassification. The board will take action to approve the reclassification of employee number 10, I'll say it differently, excuse me, number 106508, from head cook to cafeteria worker, effective for the 2021 through 2022 school year at the ESPA contracted hourly rate of $13.95 per hour for 6.5 hours per day, 180 days per year. Do I have a motion to approve item 12.5?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you. Got a good echo going tonight.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky. Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 12.6, annual superintendent evaluation. The board will take action to approve a 3% annual increase effective July 1st, 2021 for Dr. Ricky Boyle per the March 11, 2020 executed superintendent contract. Do I have a motion to approve item 12.6?
I'll make that motion.
I'll
I
second.
second. Or second.
Looks like you're passing.
I just picked one.
Ken, I was going to
Yeah.
make a comment at the end, but certainly we can.
I would just like to say that in a year when there were extreme uncertainties, a high need for positive community relations, an opportunity and a time for culture and climate to be built upon as opposed to not built upon, and to put students at the center and the focus of everything we do, and to set adult agendas aside and to focus solely on children and making sure that through this pandemic we service them to the best of our ability. I would like to commend Dr. Boyle on that and say that I fully support the work that you've done this year. Nice job.
Well said, Jen.
Yeah, good
Kudos.
job.
Dr. Boyle.
Thank you. Yeah, and
And-
I guess I would like, oh, I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no, you go
All
ahead.
right, excuse me. I did have prepared something too, because I also have to echo some of the sentiment that Jen so eloquently put out there. Nothing can compare to what happened. Not in our lifetimes, and that's kind of like, duh, Chris. Yeah, I get it. But I really believe that one of the most important values this community has is a team like this and the leadership of Dr. Boyle that carried us through this unbelievable challenging time. I know that I've had some conversations with Dr. Boyle on Sunday mornings during it. I know at Friday nights I'm driving and on the phone with her. She was unwavering in her commitment to do what she was in control of, could influence, and stay within the framework of the ever-changing guidelines passed on from Pennsylvania Department of Education, Department of Health. I saw it because I was engaged in it. We saw it because we were all engaged in it. But I've got to honestly say that I've never met anybody that was so steadfast and so true to taking care of this community and the children in this school district, and I am honored to be part of this team. And I really, really mean that, and thank you very much for your leadership.
And I'm honored.
No pressure.
I'm very happy to.
I want to reiterate a little bit of what you said, Chris, in that what we have as a job in front of us as a board and you as an administrative team is doing what's right for kids. Kids are our business, and that's what we should be doing here. And that showed through in all the actions that you and your administrative team took this past year, putting our kids first, and that's incredibly important. I'm a big advocate of addressing children's needs, and that being the role that we are supposed to play. So I just want to say I appreciate you and your team making that a focus.
And I couldn't have done it without them. We have a remarkable administrative team.
Anybody else this time? No? Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. So with that said, we do have to make a motion, if so
We did make
presented.
the motion.
Oh.
You made the motion.
Oh, we made the motion.
Right.
Just have to
Yeah, I
vote.
made
We
the,
need to-
I made the
Yeah,
motion,
I was-
Chris.
I had planned to say something after we voted, but fair enough. No, that's okay. So we're here together. One team. Thank you.
We ready?
Yep.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky, Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichert,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Absolutely.
Whoa.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon, or Mrs. Gordon, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Isn't that the sign of a great team that laughs?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, but on a serious note, thank you. That was
Thank you,
nice.
everyone.
Yep.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, next item tonight, as we move along, item 12.7, the department leads. The board will take action to approve the department leads for the 2021 through 2022 school year as presented. Do I have a motion to approve item 12.7?
I motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichert,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. All righty, we're on to item 12.8, SPO employment agreement. The board will take action to approve the 2021 through 2022 employment agreement between Danville Area School District and Matthew Hunter, Danville Area School District School Police Officer, as presented. Do I have a motion to approve item 12.8?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichert,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Okay, item 12.10 are Act 93 salary increases. The board,
Wait, we didn't vote.
Nine.
Oh.
Got to get LaRue in there.
12:09 comes out.
I was just seeing if you guys were going to help me tonight. Kind of pay attention because I'm kind of drifted
We're
out
on
of my
top of
lane a
it.
little. All right, I'm fine now.
Stay in your lane.
How many timeouts do I have left? Do I have any left? None? Okay.
Got a question.
All right. All right, I'll suck it up and keep going. All right, item 12.9, SPO employment agreement. The board will take action to approve the 2021 through 2022 employment agreement between the Danville Area School District and LaRue Bryan, Danville Area School District School Police Officer, as presented. Do I have a motion to approve 12.9?
I'll
Make a
make that motion.
There's that echo again.
You want the second, Daryl, or should I take
I'll
the
take
second?
second. I don't
Okay.
care.
All right, thank you.
Daryl's
Thank
first.
you and thank you. Both get thank yous anyway. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Reichert,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Excuse me, a motion carries. Okay, 12.10? Okay, just checking. I have 12.10, Act 93 salary increases. The board will take action to approve pay raises for Act 93 employees effective July 1st, 2021 as presented. That includes Kenneth Perkich, Director of Building and Grounds, John Bickart, Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Technology, Lee Gump, Liberty Valley Principal, Christopher Johns, Director of Student Affairs and Services, Linda Marshall, Director of Head Start, Jessica Knoll, Middle School Assistant Principal, Jeffrey Ryan, Director of Technology, David Snover, Middle School Principal, Robert Varholik, High School Assistant Principal, Alyssa Weinreich, Director of Special Ed, and, Amy Willoughby, Primary School Principal, Jeremy Wynn, High School Principal. Do I have a motion to approve item 12.10?
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, and thank you.
I just want to reiterate what we said about Dr. Boyle. I want to commend the administrative team for focusing on what kids need, especially in the wake of a pandemic. So thank you.
I would also like to say to the admin team that whether it's directing traffic or helping children or talking to parents, it seemed like it was 24/7. I saw you guys on duty this year. And so thank you for that. It does not go unnoticed by this board, and you guys did a really great job.
And I will add just a quick thought on this too, that the strength of the team is all of the people on the team, and the reflection of how well this district is run is a reflection on all you and your teams too. So I thank you as well.
A very strong administrative team. I think this is one of the best we've had in a long time. I
have
really
to
do.
agree.
Thank you for that. Thank you, everybody. Okay,
We ready?
if so, yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Next item, 12.11, the non-bargaining unit pay increases. The board will take action to approve a 3% raise for the following non-bargaining employees as presented. Karen Ungst, Administrative Assistant for Curriculum, Instruction, and Technology. Dana Ernst, Administrative Assistant for Special Education. Terry Faust, Administrative Assistant to the Superintendent. Dr. Stefan Kalberer, Psychologist. Beth Norman, Administrative Assistant for the Business Manager. Laura Reno, Transportation Coordinator. Donna Robbins, Accounting Assistant. Christine Freeman, the Administrative Assistant, Child Accounting and Receptionist. Pam Burrows, Administrative Services Coordinator. Nicholas Truax, the Data Services Specialist. And Richard Wilson, Assistant Director of Information Technology. Do I have a motion to approve item 12.11 as presented?
I motion to approve.
Thank you. Thank you. And I do apologize if I might have stumbled on names. It wasn't with malintent. Excuse me if I did.
I wanted to pull Terry out. I know how hard this is sitting in here doing this. I was in your seat for so long.
I know. You taught me everything I know.
I know, so no. I'm just kidding. I know.
Oh, that's a good way to create panic there.
I'm just kidding, Terry. You won't deserve it.
Thank you. Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Okay, item 12.12, contracted employee salary increase. The board will take action to approve pay raises for contracted employees effective July 1st, 2021 as presented. That includes Jonathan Adams, District Account and Human Resources Coordinator, and Bobby Ely, Business Manager. Do I have a motion to approve item 12.12?
I make that motion. Ah, come on.
Second. Gotcha.
Ooh.
We're fighting over it. We have
Finance committee should be the one doing it.
We have an absolute fabulous business
We
manager.
do.
Agreed.
Is there a prize at the end of this? Like somebody gets an extra scoop of ice cream or something tonight?
Well,
This is
yeah.
kinda- Oof, must be summer.
I just,
motion to
having
add ice cream to the
been
agenda?
in public education for 30 years, I cannot begin to say what an excellent business manager we have here in Danville. And it is due to her leadership in the finances that we've been able to save money in a time when most districts are really struggling. We've gotten direction, we've gotten leadership, and I just can't thank you enough, Bobby.
Thank you very
I
much.
echo all that.
Yes.
Fantastic, Bobby, thank you.
We can't even lose a penny.
Using the same pencil every meeting. That is for the record.
Chris, you have a pen in your hand?
Yeah, okay.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Big old yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, item 1213, Head Start pay increases. The board will take action to approve the pay increases for the 2021 through 2022 program year as presented.
I just want to note that this is in the budget and it is fully paid through state and federal funds.
Thank you, Bobby, for clarification.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you, guys. Okay.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 1214 is new hire. The board will take action to approve the employment of Alexa Smith as a Head Start teacher at a starting salary of $31,980, effective August 1st, 2021. Do I have a motion to, August 4th? Excuse me. Do I have a motion to approve item 12.14?
Make a motion.
Thank you.
A second.
Thank you.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Item 13.7, homebound instruction. The board will take action to approve homebound instruction for student 112694, beginning June 14th, 2021, for a period not to exceed 3 months in accordance with Danville Area School District's policy number 117. Do I have a motion to approve item 13.7?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Sorry, I got lost here.
You need Chris to fill time again, or are you okay?
Want me to tell a story?
I'm sorry, now who made the motion? Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
And second? Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Item 13.8, Kid Ventures Therapy Agreement. The board will take action to approve the service provider agreement between Kid Ventures Therapy Incorporated and Danville Area School District for a period of 1 year beginning August 24th, 2021 as presented. Do I have a motion to approve item 13.8?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
I second.
and thank you.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Item 13.9 is new story tuition agreement. The board will take action to approve the tuition agreement between New Story and the Danville Area School District for the 2021 extended school year as presented. Do I have a motion to approve item 13.9?
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Oh, there's that echo. Thank you.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades?
Yes.
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Dr. Katachu?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Nothing on transportation. Board concerns and items for next meeting agenda? Anybody have any comments, thoughts, concerns?
Can I just ask for sports right now? We have some things, kids are heating up, they're getting ready to get back into. Anything you want to say about that, Dr. Boyle, about anything that's happening for parents who are looking?
I do know that I was talked to today about the Danville Middle School football signups are coming. I think Mr. Kirsch can tell us a little bit more about dates on that.
I'm not sure there's a date yet. We're going to get an announcement out with contact information for the people that are still wondering how they can sign their children up. So those are for 7th and 8th grade children in the district. So I will get, or there will be an email, hopefully tomorrow, as long as I get it formatted tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then also, I've talked to Coach Brennan, and he has been starting to work with the boys, and they are doing some various things this summer. So that's heating up as well, should we say. But he said the boys are really excited. They have 46 students signed up this year so far, so
For high
that's
school
improving for football.
46?
Yeah, so that's an improvement. From
Great.
when I came here, it was about 33.
Right.
So the numbers are going up steadily. So
Imagine
that's
that.
pretty exciting.
And there's physicals happening, right? All of that stuff. Can they find that on our website?
Yeah, that's on the website. All that, the family
ID,
ID is on the website, and the announcement for the dates are there as well, which will be held over at the Geisinger Building in Woodbine.
Thank you.
I just wanted to announce that the girls' soccer team will be hosting a tournament this Sunday. So we really encourage the community to come out and see the girls play.
What time does that start?
It's, the first game starts at 9, and we think we should be done by about 2:30. So
And
we'll,
where is that house?
at the stadium.
Stadium, okay.
And come to the concession stand, please. It's our fundraiser.
Okay.
Awesome. Anybody else? We'll do that. I have a quick question. Is anybody on the board, are you aware of any secret meetings or anything? Anybody?
I
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Maybe that irresponsible rhetoric has finally gone away, because I haven't heard
Possibly.
anything either. Okay.
Before we move on, I just want to mention for the board, as the board's likely aware, the CDC updated their guidelines for the reopening of school districts for the 2021-22 school year. Been multiple news articles around. I believe our office put out a client alert on what the key points of the recommendations are. The key points really that we've seen most school districts asking us about, what about masks? In general, CDC has said for fully vaccinated individuals, no masks. They recommend masks to be worn by unvaccinated individuals. But with respect to public transportation, the CDC continues to rely on its order that was issued and became effective back in February 2021 to say that all individuals, if they're on public transportation while embarking, disembarking, and during travel, are required to wear masks. So
Does that include if our teams or our band or those are traveling
Anytime
on
on
school?
bus.
correct. The only time, for example, drivers wouldn't need to wear masks is if they're on the bus alone, but as soon as there's another individual on the bus, need to wear masks. There's very limited exemptions under the CDC's order, and in most instances, there's not going to be a lot of people that it's going to apply to.
And it includes our vans as well.
Correct, all public transportation.
The district health and safety plan was approved tonight. That will be posted early next week on the website. But we have looked at it as, looking at the guidance from CDC, they are not requiring anything as far as masking, with the exception of the bus. That is required. The rest is recommendations or guidance. So we'll continue to look at that. One of the things that I have said in the plan is that if we have a different level, we're at low level of transmission, if that changes, then we will definitely look to make changes.
And we also expect the Pennsylvania Department of Health and PDE to come out with guidance soon. relatively, I believe, either Friday or earlier this week, they came out with a news release essentially saying that they plan to align with the CDC's guidance. So as soon as we see that come across, we'll make sure to forward that on to the administration if they're not already receiving that. Yeah.
Chris, I just would like to make a statement. As I've said before, I've been in public education for quite a while, and always with the intent that in everything that I do, that children come first. And I have to say, having served on this board for now 2.5 years, that I feel we are, as a board, in a place and as an administrative team where our focus is on that, putting children first. And any agenda that comes forward that is not about putting our children first is not an agenda that is good for a school district. So I just want to say I appreciate all of you and the time that I've worked with this board, that we've been adamant that the kids' needs are what we focus on. So thank you.
Thank you, Christina. You've been a vital part of that team, too, and we really
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, with that said, item 16, it's now the second of our traditional 2 public comment periods. I open it up to anybody that would like to make a public comment at this time. Yes, sir. Please.
Mike,
Mike, please, because we do have some folks that might be listening on YouTube. Thank you. If you'd be so kind, just state your name and address, please. And
My name is Jack Durst. I live in Garrett.
hi.
I had quite
Is the mic on?
Oh.
I'm still loud enough.
Well, I can hear you fine.
They can't hear you on YouTube.
Broadcast.
State his address too.
Yes,
Yeah.
address.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think he does.
Not on.
Here.
Yeah.
Here, he'll give him his.
Pardon me?
Oh.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey.
My name is Jack Durst. I'm from Derry Township. I had a few questions, but I think the biggest one that I have now that I came to the meeting is, who's in charge of maintenance and why isn't it getting done? I was a Montour County Commissioner for 8 years, and if I would have had my maintenance department let my buildings fall apart like this, they wouldn't be working for me right now. It seems like every building is a mess. I'm appalled. They're my buildings. I pay taxes for them. They need to get off their duffs and start repairing stuff. The other thing that I was going to ask is, when was the last time the middle school was refurbished? Does anybody know?
2011.
Yeah, I was a commissioner then. I got all the grants. I had politicians in here. We got the dikes raised, and we had the Route 11 closure put in there.
Right.
So I don't get it. 10 years later, we want to tear all that down? You know, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a hard job that we did, my other 2 fellow commissioners and myself, and you're talking about tearing this apart. And I take that personally because we worked hard to make it happen. There is nothing wrong with that building. I don't think it's a need, it's a want. You want it. So, no. How many students in the Danville Area School District are on free or reduced lunches? Does anybody know that? And I'm looking at tax purposes for that.
33%.
I thought it was up around 40 or so, but, okay, thank you. And that's it. I really enjoyed the board meeting tonight, except for underhanded comments. We're here to teach children, and if we're going to make underhanded comments to the people in the audience that come here to visit, the kids will know about that. The press is here, and I'm sure that they'll read about this. So you really need to be adult about the way you act. The 3 minutes that I'm given, as a commissioner, I would let you talk all night because I wasn't afraid of what you would ask, and I wasn't afraid to give the answers. So I feel a little bit shorted by 3 minutes, and I know I went over that, but thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
No, you still have a minute left.
I do. Would you want me to sing or anything like that? So-
Go ahead.
Mr. Gerst, I'd like to invite you to call me and we'll sit down and talk about the items you've brought up.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I don't think it's all on you, though. You just got here with the maintenance and all that kind of stuff.
But like in anything else that I've discovered, I try to go
Yes.
forward, and that's, I can't go back.
Oh, no, of course
But we
not.
can move forward, so I'd love to talk to you about it.
But geez, when I heard about all the maintenance needs, what
I agree, okay?
were they doing? You know? Okay, but thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Marty Maximak. There's a lot of controversial issues that have
I'm
come
sorry,
up.
can you give your address? I'm sorry.
I'm 410 Klondike Road, Liberty Valley. Liberty Township. There's a lot of controversial issues that have been going across the country in education over the past couple years, and I wanted to know if anybody in any of the board members or anybody in the administrative staff is in favor of critical race theory teaching in our school district or in the 1619 project.
At this time, what I'll say is we are going to go forward in our curriculum committee and come out with a full statement. But at this point, what we are doing is we're doing responsible curriculum. Any curriculum changes has to come before the board and the public. So therefore, I would
Is
probably
is
not expect
anybody in
it.
favor of that from the board?
We haven't polled that,
Okay.
so I know where I stand, but
I know
don't-
where I stand too.
Yeah,
but,
thank you.
Okay. Well, I just there's this topic of systemic racism, and I just wanted. Can I tell you a short story? I'll try to stay within the 3 minutes.
You have 2 minutes.
I grew up in Plymouth, just up the river, and back in the much earlier than I was born, but 1929, a family came from Philadelphia area to live in Plymouth. They were a black family, and one of the students there was a sophomore. He was elected sophomore class president, a black boy, and he actually was a very good athlete. And in 1932, he won the state championship in the 100, the 200, and the long jump. In 1933, they didn't have the state championships because of the Depression, but he was such a great runner that he was invited to go to the Olympic trials. The Olympic trials were out in California, and Plymouth was it's a mining town. It was a very poor town, and the family couldn't afford to send him. But the town raised money to send this young man to California for the Olympic trials. He finished fourth, so didn't get to go into the Olympics. But he eventually went to Columbia University. He was called the Columbia Comet because he was such a fast runner. And he actually, in college, he beat people like Jesse Owens and another guy named Metcalf. But just before the 36 Olympic trials, he injured himself and then ended up not going to those Olympics. And he had beaten these people before. And during the summers of 37 and 38, he was the fastest runner in the world. The 1940 Olympics never occurred because of the war. But when I grew up, I know back in Plymouth that they had the centennial in 1966.
You have 20 seconds.
In 1966, and I never knew this particular person, but it was a very big festival, and they invited this particular black individual as I guess the citizen of the century. And this was the time when all these race riots were going around in the country, and there was no other black family in town.
I'm
So
sorry, your time is up.
I thought that was just amazing, and as a 12-year-old boy, that was just amazing. He ended up being the first black colonel in the military, and I didn't see any systemic racism in my town. I was a physician in Boston, I was a physician in California, and I never saw systemic racism.
Thank you.
Yeah, would you please just then afterwards give me your information, your phone number, and then I'll call you and we can sit down and talk. I'll let you know when curriculum committee is.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? I think so. Okay. Item 17, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, no? Adjourned. Thank you, everyone.